Good evening, Tallahassee. This is student meteorologist Chris Malave here with your Monday edition of FSU weather. Right now, we're looking at just an absolutely gorgeous view of Doak Campbell Stadium. We're sitting at 86 degrees right now, very pleasant outside. A slight breeze out of the east-northeast at 8 miles an hour. And we're really seeing the same story all around the Big Bend. It's pretty mild temperatures, a little bit on the warm side though. We're on either side of 80 degrees. We're at 86 degrees here in Tallahassee, 84 there in Quincy. And we're staying also pretty warm because of those dew points. They're in either side of the 60s, a little bit more moist down towards Perry. But for tonight, our temperature is going to be at 63 degrees. It should be pretty pleasant. It's the perfect night to go out. And on tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the week ahead in Tallahassee and major hurricane Milton, as well as National Hurricane Center updates. All this and more on FSU Weather.
All right, welcome into the October 7th Monday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Ryan Seargren, along with
student meteorologist Chris Malave here. We have a very exciting show for you today, and obviously a lot of activity in the tropics, right, Ryan?
Yeah, Category 5 Hurricane Milton making its way towards the west coast or the Gulf Coast of Florida, near Tampa, Fort Myers. All of these areas along the west coast of Florida definitely need to be getting ready to enact their hurricane plans, whether that be evacuating, hunkering down, and we'll get into that as the show goes on.
That's right, Ryan. Now, fortunately for us, the Big Bend won't be as impacted with the storm, but we're really going to see a lot of impacts, especially along the Gulf Coast. We could be seeing up to 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, especially in the Tampa Bay area. Yeah,
and the Tampa Bay area, you know, extremely prone to storm surge. They've got shallow waters into the bay, and then all that building and just that area around the bay, and a lot of people living on the beach, so extremely exposed to this threat for storm surge. But we'll pass things over to the wall now with Matt for a look around Tallahassee.
Yeah, as we look outside here at Doak right now, you can see it's looking beautiful outside, unlike our Friday earlier last week where it was cloudy. It's looking pretty much clear outside, 86 degrees, a great time to be outside if you're trying to get a break from studying or class. We look outside the temperatures, you can see we're in the 80s pretty much all around, upper 80s in some areas, but mid 80s overall. We look at the radar right now, a couple of showers to the southeast down in Lake City, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of storms in the area right now, so just a great time to be outside, great time to maybe take a break from studying or go hang out with friends early on in the week. We look at the temperature almanac. You can see our temperatures are just around average for the highs and a little bit above our average low. So a pretty good time right now as we hope to see those fall temperatures start creaking in just a little bit towards the end of the week, but looking nowhere near the records at all, so we're looking great for this time. We look at our dew points, we're looking pretty good, a little muggy towards the southern regions, but overall we're pretty good for this time of year. Not a great time to be outside, maybe go, just take a break, just go relax on Landis, or just go for a walk. If you need a brain break from studying or doing homework, it's just a great time to be outside right now in the Big Bend. We look at tonight, 64 degrees, mostly clear, so just a great night. If you need to go hang out with friends or need to go do some shopping, it's a good time to be outside, good time to go get some errands done. Tonight's forecast, 60s for the most part, 64 in Monticello and 69 in Apalachicola, but most areas will be in a pretty pleasant spot this night compared to some of the other areas down south where it will be rainy. Tomorrow you're going to see we're going to be 88 with some clouds, but just a great time if you want to go outside, lay out, get some sun while you can. It's just a great time, and we'll have a nice little breeze here and there out of the northeast, so looking pretty good overall. Tomorrow's forecast, we'll be looking at the 80s all around for the most part. In the southern regions, there will be a little bit more clouds than up north, so just a great time to go outside, relax, just have a good time to unwind early on the week, especially with midterms coming around the corner for a lot of the students here at FSU. Look at satellite, future satellite here. You can see there's not a lot of clouds for tomorrow, a couple of stray clouds to the west, but overall looking pretty good for Tuesday. And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, you're going to see those clouds start coming in courtesy of Milton as it starts getting closer and closer to Florida. So you're going to see that in those southern regions, it might be a little bit more cloudy, but not a lot of rain for this area at this point. So it's still a great time to go outside and just have a great fun time. And we look at the temperatures, the 7-day forecast, we're looking at the 80s. Wednesday it will cool off a little bit, but the sun will return, then temperatures will start climbing again. So Ryan, what is in store for Florida?
Well, so obviously Florida, us in Tallahassee, we're a little immune to the effects from the hurricane in Milton, but around Florida, kind of gearing up for Milton to be working its way in. Looking at downtown Orlando, a lot of people heading to downtown Orlando to evacuate the west coast of Florida. You notice this is I-4 here, and just kind of bumper-to-bumper traffic along there. Up towards Tampa, I was watching some of the cameras near Tampa earlier and saw a lot of people heading out, which is a really good thing. And then towards Jacksonville, you guys aren't going to be dealing with the brunt force of Milton, but you guys might be dealing with some of the rain that comes along with it. We'll get to that here in a second. And over in Pensacola, not really too worried about the threats there. 87 degrees right now all across the area, especially up in North Florida. Plenty of sunshine as we work our way further south. That's where we're going to deal with some of those cloudy conditions. A little bit cooler, 73 in Orlando, 79 in Tampa, 84 in Key West. Those dew points a little bit less humid as in North Florida, but then working our way down, those dew points do pick up quite a bit. As we work through time, we'll get a little bit less humid as we work our way into the overnight, but then, of course, the humidity returns as we get into the afternoon. So just kind of keeping with that dew point trend around. Taking a look at the heat indices across the state, a lot of us seeing in the 80s, except for Orlando, you're seeing at 73. In Miami, it's 78. Might be a little bit of a broken sensor, because I feel like that might be a little off. Taking a look at the radar right now, it's a little quiet. We've got some showers and storms, especially towards central Florida, Orlando, down towards Osceola County, and then also further up north into Gainesville. A lot of moisture just hanging offshore. But as we look at our forecast for the next few days, Jacksonville going to be dealing with a Wednesday, Thursday threat for Milton, 77 degrees for the high, but those rain chances, of course, high because of Milton. Over towards Tampa, this is where we're going to be dealing with more of the brunt force of Milton across west central Florida. So rain chances around today. We've seen plenty of rain already across so much of West Florida. And then Wednesday and Thursday is when Milton brings in that extra rainfall, and of course those winds along with it, and storm surge, also a threat towards West Florida. Over in Orlando, we are going to be dealing with those rain showers as well and those thunderstorms, but we're going to not have to worry too much about the storm surge because we're inland. It's going to be more of the threat of the wind and the rain. Towards Miami, you guys are going to get a little bit of rain and a little bit of wind from this, but you guys aren't going to be dealing with the brunt force of it. And let's take a look at how much rain we can be expecting across the state. 3.69 inches in Orlando, about 4.5 inches in Tampa. Up towards Jacksonville, you guys might be dealing with almost 6 inches of rainfall. So plenty of rain still to come. And as we look at tonight's forecast, we'll get into the 70s across much of the state, 60s up in North Florida. And then as we look ahead towards tomorrow, we'll be getting into the low to mid 80s, especially up in North Florida. Might have the chance to get into the upper 80s. So Matt, obviously tracking the tropics for Florida, but how does the rest of the southeast look?
Yeah, you look at the rest of the southeast right now, a lot of clear skies, a couple of clouds here in Charlotte, but in Orlando it is rainy. But for most of the southeast, it's looking really pleasant outside. We look at the temperatures right now, 80s for the most part, and if you go down towards this Florida area, you can see the 70s, mainly due to those showers that they're dealing with. Look at the dew points, you can see mainly 60s in Little Rock, 42, very dry up there, but if you get down south, closer to Florida, you can see those dew points start going up again, as a lot of that rain is keeping the dew point higher the more south you go. And the heat index, mainly in the 80s and some 70s up in the northern zones in Nashville and Little Rock, but in Orlando, a standout here at 73, mainly due to those storms that they're dealing with at this moment. The wind speed direction, mainly out of the north, a pretty good gust at 13 miles per hour in Nashville and about 10, but as you get farther south, it starts coming out of the east at 8 miles per hour in Tallahassee and 12 in Orlando. Look at the satellite radar. You can see the rain is pushing through a little bit of North Florida here and down south here in Miami. It's just pushing through this area as you can start seeing some of the clouds that come with Milton just to the west of it. Future radar, you're going to start seeing Milton start plowing through here on Tuesday. You can start seeing the north part of Milton as it pushes through. And Wednesday, it'll start pushing through all the way through Tampa, we think, in Orlando. So if you are in those Central Florida areas, make sure you are making your preparations and getting your hurricane supplies together, as we have a very good idea that it probably will hit somewhere on the west coast of Florida. So please make sure you have your preparations in place at this time. Look at the rainfall forecast as we go into Wednesday. You're going to start seeing it really spice. You're going to get a lot of rain, about 3.5 inches in Orlando. And if you get closer to Jacksonville, it'll be higher in that yellow area, about 6 inches. So be aware of that there might be some flash floods in those areas. New Orleans weekend forecast, it's very beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. 80s for the most part, just a really nice time to be out on the town. Charlotte, same deal for the most part. 70s, just a little cooler, but a very clear sky and not many clouds, so a good time to be outside if you're trying to get some sun or just get some fresh air. Nashville, same deal with clear skies. 70s, hanging around the 80s towards Thursday, Friday, with lows in the 50s, but overall looking very pleasant in those areas. And we look at tonight's forecast, you're going to see we're in the 50s and 60s for the most part, so very pleasant, but if you get towards the coast, it's going to be closer to 70s because of the fact that rain is going to keep those temperatures in check. Tomorrow's forecast, 80s for the most part in some areas, and those clouds will keep it in check. So, Chris, what about that national forecast?
While the southeast region is looking quite a bit warmer and a little bit muggier, can't really say the same for the rest of the country. Look at this. We have all this dry air here, especially throughout the Midwest and towards the west. Look at this. Denver, you're at 25 for your dew point. Salt Lake City, 32 right there. And taking a look at that water vapor, you can see we do have a lot more moisture down here, but we're staying nice and dry throughout most of the country, especially into the northeast and going all the way out towards the west there. And that's because we have this high pressure system that's keeping things nice and dry, especially over the plains there, while we have a high pressure system here, and we do have some showers moving through parts of Central Florida there. And then obviously later on this week, we'll have Hurricane Milton moving through the southeast there. But taking a look at our relative humidity, you can see we're staying nice and dry again for most of the country. Can't really say the same though for the southeast, where we definitely have quite a bit more moisture, especially down here into Georgia and definitely into Florida there. Now, for your 72-hour rainfall forecast, as I've been mentioning here, we've been nice and dry, but we do have a chance for some showers over the next 72 hours. But look at this, folks, a lot more rain, especially here in the southeast, and that's because of Hurricane Milton. We could be seeing up to 5 to 7 inches of rain, especially here in Central Florida. And a little bit less there in Miami, but still quite a bit of significant rainfall. That could definitely lead to flooding. So make sure that you do have a plan in place. Don't drive in any flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown. But for tonight's temperatures, we're staying pretty nice and mild, about what we'd expect for this time of year. Los Angeles, you're at 60, and San Francisco, you're at 59. And looking towards the southeast here, still pretty warm for Tampa, but that's about what we'd expect. It is a bit stormy though there down in Miami, but overall for most of the country should be nice and dry. And for Tuesday's temperatures or tomorrow's temperatures, will be quite a bit warmer, especially in the southeast. Look at this, 96 there in San Antonio. Pretty similar story here in Tallahassee. Partly cloudy, 88 degrees, and still stormy in Miami, but a little bit cooler in the northeast. You're at 65 there. And for your temperature outlook, we're going to be seeing mostly those above average temperatures, especially out here towards the Rocky Mountains. And again, that's because we're staying nice and dry for these next several days and even into the next week, while over here in the southeast, we're going to see about what we'd expect for this time of year. But we could definitely use some of this dry air, especially after, we could definitely use some of that relief after this hurricane. But because of that hurricane, let's switch things over to Ryan and Matthew at the desk, where we're going to talk a little bit more about Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, that's right, Matt, or Chris. Category 5 Hurricane Milton obviously, goes without saying the threat to the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, it's really rapidly intensified over the past day or two, and it's getting really strong. And so if we can pull up what those warnings look like right now for Florida, you can see there's a lot of counties under hurricane warnings, and those who are not have tropical storm warnings or watches in place.
Yeah, the tropical storm warning is extending all the way to Wakulla County, and then we've got hurricane warnings stretching all the way into Seminole, Orange, Osceola. We've got tropical storm warnings, of course, south as well. Hurricane watches along the east coast of Florida. So really, all of Florida, or a lot of Florida, the peninsula, are going to be impacted by Milton. Take a look at downtown Tampa right now, where they need to be ready for not only the wind of a potential major hurricane, but also the storm surge on top of it.
Yeah, and it's just going to compound the problems that they've been having. A lot of people have been trying to pick up the debris and deal with the aftermath of the storm surge from Helene. And so you're going to have this storm, and that's going to bring a lot of rain and more storm surge to the Bay Area that has seen a lot of flooding. So that could bring just a lot of disaster for that area.
Yeah, here's a look right now at Hurricane Milton, Category 5 as of the 5 o'clock advisory. It was a Category 5 a little earlier in the day, but this is showing the 5 o'clock advisory off the Yucatan, not far from Campeche, also kind of near Cancun. So if you're familiar with Mexico, those spots in the Yucatan might stick out to you. Moving east about 10 miles per hour, and take a look at this, the pressure, 905 millibars with winds of 180 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's just a really low pressure storm, which is just really not something you want to see, and those winds are extremely strong. But we do have some good news in the fact that some drier and wind shear should weaken the storm as it gets closer to Florida, which should help bring it down in its intensity.
Yeah, you'll notice as it moves closer to Wednesday night, winds drop from right now 180, and it's going to start dipping down to about 145 by Wednesday night as it kind of goes on approach to Florida. But it doesn't matter the wind speed. It's going to impact you whether it's a Category 3 or a Category 5. The impacts are going to be the same. You're going to see a lot of wind. You're going to see that storm surge potential, and you're going to see the threat of a lot of rain, wind, all that.
Yeah, as you can see at the models here, a lot of the models, they are in agreement that it's going to go over somewhere along that west coast from north of Tampa down to Venice, somewhere in that range, but they all can agree that it is going to go through Florida, so make sure that you are preparing at this time. You're getting your hurricane supplies, and you're figuring out your plan to hunker down during Wednesday afternoon and into Thursday, as this is a storm that will bring very strong rain and very strong winds with it.
Yeah, and let's take a look. So in pink here, we've got storm surge warnings. So everywhere from Cedar Key down through to Everglades is in a storm surge warning right now. So if you find yourself being told to evacuate, you need to get out, because take a look at some of these water levels or forecasted water levels. Up to 15 feet could enter Tampa Bay, 10 feet near Spring Hill, even down near Naples up to 7 feet. And then on the east coast of Florida, you also might be dealing with some storm surge as well, so up to 5 feet. So again, if you are told to evacuate, you need to evacuate. It's not that they're doing it for fun or joy or because they want to see you displaced. It's because it's a legitimate concern for your life and your property. And we can replace your property, we can't replace your life.
Yeah.
So we need you to evacuate if you are told to do so. And even if you feel uncomfortable in your current situation, go ahead and take the evacuation. But Chris, we're going to pass things over to you.
That's right. So we just talked about Hurricane Milton with some of those storm surges, but let's take a look at things back here locally in Tallahassee. Here's a just gorgeous view of the FSU res right now. We're still feeling quite nice. We're at 86 degrees, just partly cloudy skies. That's really been the story throughout the day. Just very lovely conditions and very similar tomorrow. It's the perfect day to go to the pool. 9 a.m. will be a little bit cooler there at 70, but we're going to warm up pretty rapidly to 82 degrees by noon. By 3 p.m., still really nice and sunny, 86 degrees there. It's also the perfect day to go walk your dog. If you are a little bit more of a fan of those cooler temperatures, I would definitely recommend going for a walk around 7 in the morning. It'll be 65 there, but we'll warm up pretty rapidly to 80 degrees there. And if you're maybe going hiking, here's a look at the Florida Trail in Crawfordville. We're going to be at 77, so a little bit cooler, but still really lovely weather, especially here in the Big Bend. Definitely a nice change of things, especially in the coming days where we're going to see not very pleasant weather. But for nightlife, 72 degrees, clear skies, can't get better than that. And then for your late night forecast, we're going to cool down just a little bit here, but we're going to be in the low 70s by 1 a.m. And for tomorrow, rinse and repeat, pretty similar. Very lovely conditions there. You're at 87 degrees with a northeast wind at 11 miles an hour there. And for the weekday forecast, we're going to be nice and sunny for your Tuesday. Wednesday, a little bit cloudy, and that's because of the Category 5 hurricane that will be moving through the Florida peninsula. But looking towards Thursday, we'll cool down just a little bit. We won't be as hot as Tuesday, but we'll stay in the upper 70s to low 80s. And now I'm going to pass things off to Ryan.
Yeah, let's take one last look closer to home. Obviously, you know, here in Tallahassee, we're not dealing with the immediate effects of Milton. Taking a look outside Campbell Stadium, you can barely see the stadium. The sun is just at that right angle. There's so much sunshine to go about. 84 degrees and partly cloudy. I don't even see a cloud there, so I think it might be lying to us. But taking a look at the radar for the region, we've got a lot of moisture just hanging down near Miami. They actually tagged this as something that could go tropical, but really we're not focused on it. It's just a lot of moisture hanging out, dampening Florida as we're, you know, possibly going to see 4, 5, 6 inches come with Milton, but also dealing with all this moisture around for a lot of Florida. Right now across the area, mid-80s, 86 degrees in Tallahassee, Valdosta, up towards Donaldsonville, 84, and then down by the coast, 83 in Apalachicola. Tonight's forecast, we're getting down into the 60s, 65 in Valdosta. A lot of us just hanging around those mid-60s, but clear skies. If you're a day planner tomorrow, getting up and out early, 64 degrees, might want to bring that jacket with you just to keep yourself a little bit warmer. But then as the day goes along, you can shed that jacket because we're getting to 70 by 9 a.m. And then a little bit later in the day, 84 degrees. And the rain chances stay pretty low. Might just be dealing with a couple clouds that start to work their way in on Tuesday. But really, it's going to be clear for most of the day. A couple of spot showers might try to work their way towards the Big Bend, but here locally, not really too much of a concern. As we head out tomorrow, 87 degrees in Perry, 88 Tallahassee. Some clouds, that's really going to be the only thing that's going to impact your day. So if you are looking to tan a little bit maybe, just there'll be times that you can get out, but those clouds might hang around and put a little bit of a damper into your forecast. So for Tuesday, we've got a good day ahead, 88 degrees. But then notice a drop-off come between Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday's high of only 76 degrees. So if you're heading out and about on Wednesday, you're going to want to bring those jackets and extra layers with you because I feel like waking up in Florida and it being 76 degrees for a high after it being 88 the day before, that's going to be a little bit of a shock to the system, right? You're going from 88 to 76, it's a 12-degree drop-off. But then don't worry, those 80s will come back. But I think it might be our first taste of fall here because we're not really getting into the high 80s, 80 degrees on Thursday, and then 79, 81. So really, I think we're going to be dealing with kind of our first taste of fall. And if you actually remember a few years back, Hurricane Irma kind of pushed fall along for us and kind of got those cold fronts started for us. And that's actually going to be part of what's steering Milton is there's going to be a cold front dipping down and going to kind of steer Milton towards the west coast of Florida. So we might be dealing with some cooler conditions as we go into the next week. I think, you know what, it's about time we get some fall conditions going. Starbucks is their drinks. I think we're ready to go. Chris, Matt, what do you guys think?
Absolutely. I am so ready for these cooler temperatures to finally start making their way, for it to finally start to feel like fall in Tallahassee.
Yeah, as much as I love these warm temperatures, I would love for it to be 70 degrees with a nice breeze, because honestly, the 80 degrees just gets tiring after a while with the humidity and everything, so I just want those fall temperatures to just kind of sink in right now.
Absolutely, and I definitely can't wait to start seeing leaves falling around campus and the trees start to change colors and just really get those fall vibes. I'm definitely ready to experience a lot more of those cooler temperatures as we approach later into fall.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, but for those of us in other parts of Florida, make sure that you are taking time to make your preparations for Hurricane Milton as it will be approaching Wednesday and into Thursday, so make sure you have your preparations. There is a good chance that flights may or may not be canceled, so for those of you who might be trying to fly out, I would try to move your flight up to Tuesday. Follow us on FSU Weather on Twitter at FSU Weather.
And make sure to like us on Facebook, FSU Weather.
On Instagram, follow us at FSU Weather and follow us there.
And also, don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube where you're watching us, FSU Weather.
Follow us and like our videos on TikTok at FSU Weather.
And here's one last look at your 7-day forecast.